You didn't land here by accident. The very fact that your eyes, your ears, your breath are synchronized with this moment is proof that something deeper has been orchestrating behind the scenes. Destiny, you call it. Synchronicity, others name it. But whatever the word, it's the same signal your soul has been steering you toward this alignment. And now the coordinates have locked. Yet if you look back, you'll notice the loop you've been caught in. Arguments that repeat, with new faces. Opportunities that nearly arrive only to dissolve. Déjà vu moments that taste like memories you never lived. Time bending, sometimes racing, sometimes dragging like an old clock that no longer matches the pulse inside your bones. You've wondered if this meant you were failing, if you were stuck, if you were somehow not ready. But what if those loops were not punishment, but preparation? The deeper truth is this: you are standing in a quantum corridor where timelines braid together. Science would call it a phase transition. Mystics would call it initiation. It is the same law spoken in different tongues. When pressure builds to a certain point, systems reorganize. Ice becomes water. Stars collapse, then ignite. And in you, coherence is rising, pulling every thread of your being into alignment with a higher octave. Feel into this. The hum beneath your chest, the subtle tingles across your skin. These are not random sensations. They are the early tremors of awakening. Your DNA itself, once considered static, is listening, preparing to unlock sequences. Dormant since the beginning, the universe has been placing breadcrumbs, numbers, repeating conversations, converging dreams, echoing one another, not to tease you, but to confirm that your soul timeline is entering alignment. So breathe here and now. Let the old identity loosen its grip. Let the new rhythm carry you. This is not just another video. This is the transmission your future self arranged for you to hear. And with your next breath, you are invited to step fully into the awakening already unfolding. And as you exhale into that transmission, notice what lingers, the strange sensation that your life has been circling the same grooves like a vinyl stuck on repeat. This is where the story deepens, because the very loops you've resented may actually be the fingerprints of transformation pressing against your field. You've seen them before, patterns that refuse to dissolve. A relationship dynamic that begins with tenderness but collapses back into withdrawal. A financial cycle that swells with promise and then plunges right when stability would finally free you. A dream that blooms in your mind only to wither in daylight. At first, these patterns feel like failures, like the universe mocking your effort. But step back and something else emerges. Repetition isn't always regression. Sometimes it is the sound of a system recalibrating the hum of a field, trying to stabilize coherence. Time itself begins to warp around these loops. Hours stretch like liquid amber. Days vanish in a blink. Déjà vu sneaks in, whispering that you've been here before, that this scene has already been rehearsed. And in truth, it has, because your consciousness is brushing against adjacent versions of reality. Think of it like flipping through frames of a film reel, sensing the parallel edits where your life could unfold differently. The distortion of time is not confusion. It is proof that the boundary between who you were and who you are becoming is thinning. The body knows this boundary better than the mind. That tightness in your chest when you approach a choice that matters. That micro flinch when someone praises you as if receiving goodness breaks some hidden contract with struggle. That sudden heaviness draping over you right before you act on an inspired idea, like a sleep spell cast to keep you compliant. These are not random sensations. They are semantic signatures of an old morphic field, trying to maintain itself, a field built for predictability, not awakening. And predictability once kept you safe. Safety meant repeating what you knew, even if what you knew hurt. The nervous system adapted, binding itself to old rhythms, and your timeline obliged by delivering the same scripts. That's why your calendar has been filled with urgent, but meaningless tasks. Why minor crises appear just when your soul edges near breakthrough. Chaos becomes the anesthetic that drowns the subtle signal of awakening. But here's the hidden truth: what feels like sabotage is actually decoherence. The old waveform, your past identity jostling against the new probability your soul is trying to host. It is not laziness, not punishment, not evidence that you're unworthy. It is interference between two broadcasts, the static between channels as you tune into a new station. And déjà vu. It's not just a curiosity. It is your consciousness sampling those parallel broadcasts, testing which version of reality you'll claim. Each loop is less about failure and more about fidelity. Are you still entangled with the old orbit, or are you ready to pair with the emerging one? So pause the next time the cycle repeats. Instead of condemning yourself for being back at the same place, recognize the disguised invitation. The field is asking, do you choose differently now? Because every loop you encounter is less a prison and more a doorway, waiting for the moment you step through with new frequency, new alignment, new resolve. And as you step through that doorway, the air feels different, charged, almost electric. Why? Because every choice you make doesn't just change the story, it changes the stage itself. This is the secret engine beneath all the loops, the observer loop. In the quantum field, perception doesn't merely record reality, it shapes it. And reality doesn't merely deliver events, it trains perception in return. The two are locked in an infinite feedback cycle, an observer loop where what you see, what you feel, what you expect is mirrored back to you in probabilities that reinforce those very expectations. It is a loop so intimate, you hardly notice it until it begins to crack. Trauma and stress narrow the loop. They shrink the aperture of what you can perceive. Instead of sampling the vast buffet of possibilities shimmering in the field, the nervous system locks onto a handful of familiar options, the ones that feel safest because they have already been survived. Safety becomes synonymous with repetition, and soon your life begins to obey this tunnel vision. Same types of people, same near misses, same ceilings you almost but never break through. You think it's reality, but in truth, it's just a narrowed feedback circuit. But here's the miracle: the loop is not fixed. The moment you emotionally entangle with a higher possibility, information begins to stream from that future self back into the present. Think of it like opening a secret file transfer between two timelines. The future you, the one who has already stabilized coherence, sends micro-instructions into your current body. New gestures, new words, new postures, and without quite knowing why, you begin to act as if you already live that life. This isn't pretending. It isn't daydreaming. It is the physics of entanglement in motion. Just as two particles influence one another instantaneously across space, you and your future self influence one another across time. When you tune your emotions to the frequency of that higher version, the observer loop widens. Suddenly you perceive options you couldn't see before. Suddenly coincidences that once felt impossible line up with surgical precision. Suddenly the loop no longer feeds on the past, but begins pulling from the future. Consider how this has already shown up in your life. The day you nearly gave up only to feel a strange calmness wash over you, followed by a breakthrough within hours. The conversation where words tumbled from your mouth as though spoken by another intelligence. The dream that felt more real than waking life, leaving you with instructions you didn't consciously know but needed desperately. These were not accidents. They were proof that your loop had momentarily synced with a higher timeline, letting its coherence leak into your now. The ego wants evidence first, proof before surrender. But the field works the other way. Surrender first, then proof emerges downstream. Every synchronicity you meet is not a roadmap, but a mirror. Treat it with cynicism and the loop downgrades. Treat it with reverence and the field upgrades. And so, beloved traveler, the question becomes simple yet immense. What frequency are you feeding your observer loop? Because the loop is always listening, always shaping, always collapsing waves of possibility into form. The only difference between the old you and the emerging you is the broadcast you choose to amplify. This is why your breath, your focus, your smallest emotional commitments matter more than grand declarations. Every micro-choice tells the field which loop to stabilize. And the more consistently you align with the higher broadcast, the faster your nervous system learns to treat coherence not as anomaly, but as home. And as that loop widens, you begin to notice something else, an unmistakable weight pressing in on your chest, a restless energy in your nights, a sense of being stretched between two worlds at once. At first, you might call it anxiety. You might think it's exhaustion, but in truth, it is neither. What you're feeling is pressure, and pressure is the language of transition. Nature has always spoken this way. Water resists freezing until a precise threshold is reached. Then, in a sudden cascade, it crystallizes into ice. A star collapses under unbearable weight only to explode into a nova of light. Even the human heart, when stretched by grief or longing, often becomes the chamber through which compassion is born. Pressure precedes transformation, always. And in you, the same law applies. The loops that once felt like prisons, the distortions of time, the sensation that life is crowding in on you, they are not evidence of failure. They are signatures of a system reaching its breaking point, preparing to reorganize at a higher order. The tightness in your diaphragm is not random tension, it is coherence compressing. The restless nights are not malfunction, they are the nervous system recalibrating for a different rhythm. The sudden chaos, the argument that erupts without cause, the technology that glitches at the worst moment, the financial wobble that tests your ground, these are contractions before birth. The old identity senses dissolution and scrambles for oxygen. That's why it feels like everything intensifies right before breakthrough. It's not that life is conspiring against you. It's that the timeline you once inhabited is unraveling and its last defense is noise. Just as crystals form under pressure, just as fire erupts when density collapses, your soul is igniting under the weight you feel now. This is why so many breakthroughs arrive in the moment after surrender. Because surrender is not giving up. It is relaxing the clenched attention that kept collapsing the waveform into yesterday. When you soften, the loop regains coherence. When you release control, the system finds its own higher configuration. Pressure, then, is not the enemy. It is the crucible. Feel into that word, crucible. A container where raw elements are exposed to heat so intense that impurities burn away, and only the essence remains. You are in such a container. Every delay, every distortion, every weight is not punishment, but purification. The field is asking what within you can withstand this fire. What within you is ready to reorganize into light. And here is the paradox. The ego interprets pressure as danger. The soul interprets it as invitation. To the mind, the chest tightness screams something is wrong. To the deeper self, it whispers something is coming alive. Which voice you trust decides how the field will stabilize. So the next time pressure presses down, remember the laws written across the cosmos. Under pressure, new forms emerge. Under pressure, hidden orders reveal themselves. Under pressure, stars are born. And under the weight you feel now, your own awakening is crystallizing, waiting for you to stop resisting and let the reorganization complete. And from that crucible of pressure, something astonishing emerges. The realization that transformation is not only cosmic, it is participatory. The field may surge with potential, but it will never override your will. In the architecture of awakening, consent is the hinge. And ritual, often dismissed as superstition, is the ancient technology that encodes consent into matter. Think of it this way. Physics tells us that observation collapses probability into form. Mysticism tells us that declaration seals destiny into reality. Ritual is where those truths overlap. It is how you tell the field, yes, collapse this potential into permanence. Without that embodied signal, awakening risks hovering as shimmering possibility, but never stabilizing into your lived timeline. This doesn't mean elaborate ceremonies under rare moons or exotic initiations. It can be as simple as a breath taken with full awareness, a word written on a page with intent, a hand pressed to your heart as you whisper, "I am ready." The action itself is less important than the frequency it carries. The field doesn't respond to theatrics. It responds to sincerity. Ancient traditions understood this. That's why oil was poured, ashes marked foreheads, fires were circled, rivers entered. The objects themselves weren't magical. The power was in the decision embodied. To move your hand, to speak a vow, to mark your skin. These were ways of telling the nervous system and the quantum field simultaneously. The choice is no longer theory, it is embodied. Consider what happens when you write a single word that names the version of you. You're choosing freedom, truth, coherence, love. Your rational mind might argue, it's trivial, just ink on paper. But your body knows better. You feel the tremor. You sense the resistance because your old identity recognizes the ritual as death. And in a sense, it is the death of the self that cannot cross the threshold. And here is where the humility of awakening meets its power. The universe doesn't require grand gestures to bend timelines. It requires alignment encoded in action. A whisper aligned with truth is more potent than a scream laced with doubt. A word written in reverence radiates more than volumes of empty affirmations. Ritual, then, is less about performance and more about anchoring. Each micro-gesture, a breath, a word, a touch, creates resonance. And resonance multiplies. One aligned act can collapse hesitation into certainty, pulling probabilities into order. That is why, when you pause to breathe before deciding, when you whisper your chosen word, when you light a candle not for superstition, but for coherence, the field responds. Not later, now. So let yourself feel the weight of this truth. You are not helpless before destiny. You are co-writing it. Every small act of embodied consent is a signature. The field honors a data point that says this timeline is chosen. Without ritual, awakening drifts as possibility. With ritual, awakening crystallizes into form. The next time you doubt, remember this: your liberation is not waiting for cosmic permission. It is waiting for yours. And as your consent reverberates through the field, notice how the body becomes the true stage where awakening anchors itself. Because for all the cosmic language, for all the mystical metaphors, none of it stabilizes until sensation says yes. Ideas alone will not reorganize your timeline. Only embodiment will. Close your eyes for a moment and breathe. Slowly, deeply, as though each inhale is not just oxygen, but information sliding into your lungs. Notice how the ribcage expands, how the belly softens, how the breath leaves traces of warmth against your throat. This is not just biology, it is signal. Every inhale is a download from the field. Every exhale is an upload releasing old code into dissolution. The nervous system speaks in sensation, not abstraction. That sudden shiver down your spine when truth is spoken, the goosebumps that rise when synchronicity pierces through the mundane, the warmth flooding your chest when you decide in alignment. These are not side effects, they are confirmations. Your body is a tuning fork struck by coherence, and once struck it hums, broadcasting waves into the invisible atmosphere around you. Think of your heart. Science measures its electromagnetic field extending feet beyond your skin. Mystics saw the same glow as an aura. When you feel centered in the heart, when warmth pulses from the sternum, you are literally broadcasting coherence into the room. People sense it before you say a word. They call it comfort or safety or attraction. What it truly is resonance. Contrast that with contraction shoulders, curling inward breath, shallow stomach, knotted. Suddenly time itself feels jagged, conversations sharp, the world unfriendly. That is decoherence made flesh. The wave collapsing too soon, dragging you back into smaller states. The difference between the two is not ideology, it is posture, breath, sensation. Awakening must be felt. Tingling fingers during meditation are not distractions, they are your cells communicating through light. Science has measured these ultra-weak photon emissions, what mystics call the body of light. You experience them as warmth, cool currents, sudden rushes across the skin. Ignore them and coherence floats as theory. Attend to them and coherence locks into bone marrow and muscle. Imagine your spine now not just as vertebrae, but as a ladder of light, a living antenna linking earth and sky. Each breath rises along it like sap through a tree. Each exhale grounds it deeper into the soil. When you sit upright, when you let breath pour along the column, you are broadcasting vertically, becoming a conduit. Mystics spoke of kundalini. Physics would call it bioelectrical current. Both point to the same phenomenon. Your sensations are frequencies, your body the instrument. This is why embodiment matters, because without it, awakening floats as theory. With it, awakening becomes permanent. When you place your hand on your chest and whisper your chosen word, you are not just affirming, you are programming. The nervous system receives the vibration, the DNA listens, the field recognizes the signature and adjusts probabilities to match. So let yourself feel the hum in your bones, the fire in your belly, the shiver in your skin. They are not random, they are the anchors that hold awakening steady when the mind doubts. Sensation is the compass. Sensation is the signal. Sensation is the bridge where the infinite finally touches the flesh. And it is through this bridge that the next miracle enters, the DNA breakthrough waiting in the marrow of your being. And through that bridge of sensation, something deeper stirs, the quiet realization that your body itself is the laboratory of awakening. The tingles, the warmth, the breath are not just signals. They are invitations for your very code to reconfigure. Because DNA is not a fossilized ladder frozen in time. It is a living antenna, spiraled light translated into biology. For decades, scientists dismissed the vast majority of DNA as junk. Mystics, though, always suspected otherwise. They whispered that hidden within those silent strands are dormant instructions, keys, awaiting the right frequency. Trauma compressed them, fear wrapped them tight, but love, coherence, awakening vibrations untangle them like threads of golden silk. And now, through alignment, through consent, through sensation, those strands are stirring awake. Imagine your DNA not as chemical rungs, but as a spiral staircase. Most of your life, you've only walked a fraction of its steps, circling the same lower floors. But higher flights have always existed, shimmering just beyond perception. Each act of coherence, each ritual, each breath in reverence is a step onto those higher stairs. And as you climb, the architecture of your timeline itself shifts. This is the DNA breakthrough, when the body stops echoing the loops of the past and begins broadcasting the signature of your chosen future. When your nervous system ceases to rehearse scarcity and begins to embody sufficiency. When your cells stop vibrating with survival and start humming with coherence. You've glimpsed this already the day you woke lighter than gravity, allowed the meditation where your body dissolved into pure light, the conversation where words poured through you like a river from another dimension. These were not anomalies, they were previews, beta tests of the operating system now ready to install. Under pressure, the reorganization intensifies. Just as water resists freezing until the final moment, then crystallizes in an instant, your DNA resists until coherence reaches a tipping point. Then activation cascades. Strands light up, proteins fold differently, signals reroute, dormant potentials awaken. This is not metaphor alone, it is biology listening to consciousness. And here is the mystery physics and mysticism agree upon in the quantum field. Every version of you already exists. The hesitant one, the thriving one, the luminous one. They are all probability waves shimmering in superposition. Which one stabilizes depends on the observer loop, and the observer loop depends on what your DNA is broadcasting right now. So when you feel the pressure, when time distorts, when synchronicities multiply, understand you are not malfunctioning. You are in the splice where old code phrase and new code asserts itself. The trembling in your limbs is electricity, not weakness. The chest tightness is a crucible, not a cage. Your body is listening for the command, waiting for the declaration, which timeline shall we host? And when the breakthrough locks, you will know. Because breath, once heavy, will suddenly feel expansive. Decisions once tangled will clarify into inevitability. Synchronicities once teasing will cascade in rapid choreography. The background noise of life will be replaced by music, not spectacle, but subtle proof food nourishing differently. Sleep restoring more deeply, words landing with sharper precision, opportunities aligning with improbable grace. This is the DNA breakthrough, when biology and destiny stop negotiating and begin harmonizing. When your body becomes not just a vessel for awakening, but the broadcasting tower through which the field reorganizes reality itself. And as your DNA hums with new instructions, another realization dawns: this upgrade was never only about you. The coherence stabilizing in your field ripples outward, altering probabilities for countless others. Awakening is not a private victory, it is a public transmission. Think of humanity as a vast neural network, billions of nodes exchanging signals. Most operate on background frequencies, repeating ancestral scripts, maintaining consensus reality. But when one node begins to broadcast coherence, the network itself recalibrates. Information reroutes, pathways open, entire regions of the human field become easier to navigate. Your liberation becomes infrastructural, lowering the threshold for others to awaken. You've witnessed this already, though you may not have named it. A stranger's kindness that altered your path, a teacher's single phrase that echoed for years, a friend's honesty that allowed you to drop a mask. These were not accidents, they were micro-transmissions. Someone's coherence created a ripple and you were pulled into its orbit. Now you are becoming that node for others. This is morphic resonance in action. Rupert Sheldrake's hypothesis that patterns replicate across fields of consciousness. When one individual stabilizes a new behavior, a new frequency, it becomes easier for others to mirror. In spiritual language, this is lineage healing, collective awakening, karmic unraveling. In physics, it is phase transition distributed across a system. Both point to the same truth: your coherence organizes more than your own life. And notice the reciprocity: the field you strengthen also strengthens you. The more aligned your actions, the more uncanny the support. Resources appear at the perfect moment. Allies emerge out of nowhere. Projects gather momentum against improbable odds. These are not random blessings. They are systemic responses. The network leans toward coherence the way plants lean toward light. But there is also friction, because when one node upgrades, the surrounding circuitry must reorganize. Old relationships may tense, familiar systems may resist, communities may wobble as your presence destabilizes hidden agreements. This is not betrayal nor burden, it is purification at scale. The same way pressure births stars, your coherence births cultural cracks through which new light enters. And so the loneliness you once cursed begins to transform. Of course you felt alien. Of course you sensed shadows others ignored. You were carrying codes designed not for belonging in the old paradigm, but for anchoring a new one. Now that the timing has ripened, your frequency serves as scaffolding for others to rise. Picture a forest. One tree deeply rooted shares nutrients through hidden fungal networks, sustaining saplings and stabilizing the soil, not because the tree tries, but because ecosystems operate by mutual support. Your coherence functions the same way. It redistributes possibility. It strengthens the lattice of awakening for generations ahead, and even for ancestors behind, as retrocausal entanglement smooths patterns across time. So when you choose alignment, you are not only deciding for yourself, you are voting in the parliament of the species. You are bending the probability landscape for humanity itself. This is why your personal practice, your breath, your word, your integrity matters more than you think. Because every moment you embody coherence, the entire grid brightens. You are not a lone seeker anymore. You are a stabilizer in a living network, part of the symphony of collective awakening. And the next revelation is even more humbling. Your role is not to save, but to anchor, to become the superconductive channel through which humanity's next octave of coherence can flow. And now, as the network of humanity hums faintly in the background of your awareness, you sense the magnitude of your task. You are not here to convince, to preach, or to dominate. You are here to stabilize, to anchor coherence in a world still oscillating between chaos and order. The metaphorical spotlight is not on you, it is on the field, and you are the beam through which it organizes itself. Consider the laws of superconductivity. At ordinary temperatures, resistance dissipates energy. Current leaks, flow is obstructed, work is wasted. But cool a material to its critical threshold, and resistance vanishes. Energy flows infinitely without loss. This is the role you are stepping into, to become the superconductive channel of human consciousness, a conduit where coherence flows without friction, where presence alone aligns the field. And here lies the paradox of power. The role humbles you. Ego craves choseness, privileges, accolades. But the stabilizer cannot seek grandeur. Their effectiveness depends on subtlety, on integrity, on refusal to perform. Presence is sufficient. Breath is sufficient. Quiet consistency is sufficient. The field responds not to spectacle, but to fidelity. Your history has been preparation for this. Every heartbreak that cracked you open, every humiliation that emptied the ego, every intuition that guided you when no one else listened, these were rehearsals. Micro runs for the larger performance that is alignment. The same nervous system that once resisted now learns to conduct, to transmit, to synchronize. The DNA, the observer loop, the body, the field. They all listen to the integrity of your choice. And yet stabilizing coherence is not passive. There is tension, friction tests, old patterns, relationships, societal expectations. Everything that thrives on inertia will press against you. It is not punishment. It is the system reorganizing. Each minor challenge, each micro-conflict is a gatekeeper asking, are you committed to hosting this higher frequency? Can you remain calm, centered, coherent, even as chaos swirls around you? Your stabilization radiates outward. The mere act of embodying presence, of being aligned, decisive, intentional, reorganizes probabilities in the collective lattice. Strangers feel safer, conversations deepen, initiatives stalled by inertia begin to move. Opportunities that previously seemed improbable now arrive with uncanny precision. You are a node in a living system, your alignment cascading into countless unseen lives. And this is the ethical dimension of awakening. You are entrusted with influence that surpasses personal benefit. Every act of coherence is an infrastructural adjustment, a moral architecture for those who come after. Your choice to embody stability mitigates friction, reduces suffering, and seeds potential in the field long before others are aware of it. So let humility and resolve coexist. You are not the hero, you are the stabilizer. You are the vertical beam through which the collective finds equilibrium, and the field hungry for coherence leans in. All that remains is the final leap, deciding consciously how to respond as the cosmic window widens before you. And so, beloved traveler, everything converges here at the threshold where pressure, ritual, sensation, DNA, and collective resonance braid into one unmistakable moment. The cosmic window opens, narrow, luminous, and alive with possibility. This is not a window to admire, it is a window to cross. Probability favors the shift you've been cultivating, but probability alone is not destiny. Consent seals it, action anchors it. The quantum field will not override hesitation. It listens only for alignment, for the decisive hum of sincerity encoded into your choice. Feel the weight in your chest right now, that tightness that is not merely anxiety, but the compression of possibility into form. In physics, phase transitions require pressure. In mysticism, initiations require ordeal. Both are pointing here. The urgency you feel is not panic, but invitation. Panic fractures coherence. Urgency sharpens it. And urgency matters, because windows close, paths branch. Each decision you make now is amplified, its ripple magnified across timelines. A word spoken differently, a surrender instead of a struggle, a boundary honored instead of ignored. These micro-commits are quantum levers tipping the scales of your destiny. This is why synchronicities have multiplied around you, why numbers repeat, why dreams echo, why strangers voice your hidden prayers. They are not mere curiosities. They are cosmic summons signals that alignment is ready to lock. The field is whispering step forward, and the choice is yours alone. The old timeline will not dissolve gently. It clings, it seduces, it disguises itself as comfort. But comfort is not safety anymore. It is resistance to coherence. True safety now lies in surrender, in embodying the higher broadcast, in refusing to let habit dictate identity. Each moment you align, the loop weakens. Each time you falter, the old code harvests energy to persist. So listen closely. This window is not demanding spectacle. It is asking for sincerity. It does not measure the size of your act, but the frequency encoded within it. A whisper in alignment bends more timelines than a scream in doubt. A hand on your heart declaring one word of truth carries more voltage than 1,000 empty affirmations. And if you accept this moment, the field will respond with acceleration. Time will warp, but now in your favor. Opportunities will crystallize. Allies will appear. What once required endless effort will reorganize effortlessly. This is not fantasy. It is the lawful outcome of coherence meeting consent at the threshold of reorganization. So breathe. Whisper your word. Step through with decisive gentleness. Let the old dissolve not in panic but in reverence, because this is the hinge. This is the moment your observer loop collapses into the timeline of awakening. This is the crossing where possibility becomes permanence. And when you step through, remember, you are not stepping alone. You are carrying the field with you. And as that window closes softly behind you, you may feel the echo still humming in your chest. A mixture of relief and awe, a recognition that something irreversible has shifted, not in the blaze of spectacle, but in the quiet geometry of consent. Think back to the spiral staircase, the image of DNA rising like a ladder of light. You've stepped onto higher flights now, and though the world around you may appear unchanged, the architecture within you is entirely different. Every breath you take is recalibrated. Every step you walk is encoded with a rhythm that did not exist before. This is how timelines bend, not with explosions, but with subtle, steady harmonization. And remember, your coherence is not only for you. Each choice you make now radiates into the lattice of humanity. When you breathe with intention, the network breathes easier. When you choose alignment, chaos loses momentum. When you embody coherence, others sense a possibility they didn't know was available. This is entanglement not as theory, but as lived service. So carry this awakening lightly. You are not here to perform spirituality or to prove worthiness. You are here to embody coherence quietly, consistently, like a tuning fork that holds its pitch even in a noisy room. That is enough. That is more than enough. Perhaps you'll choose to mark this moment with a small ritual, a word written, a hand pressed to your heart, a candle lit in silence. Do it not for theatrics, but for anchoring. The body remembers what the mind doubts. The field responds to embodied sincerity. This is how awakening ceases to drift and begins to root. And as you move forward, let humility walk with you. You are not the savior of the world. You are a stabilizer, a bridge, a node in a network of awakening souls. Together, our coherence builds the scaffolding for humanity's next octave. Together, we make it easier for others to step through their own windows when they appear. So breathe once more, feel the hum beneath your skin. Let this closing truth settle deep. Your awakening is not separate from humanity's awakening. They are the same event reflected at different scales. Each heartbeat you align, each breath you sanctify, each choice you honor is a signal that a new world is already here. Carry that signal forward. Live as coherence, walk as proof, and trust that the field is already responding, already bending, already whispering back, welcome home.